What up? It's time now for the big one, the main event. The one that we're all excited for. Some of us are. Most of us are excited for the other fight. But the big one, Adesanya versus Cannonier. Finally, Israel Adesanya has some fresh meat in there. Fresh as the meat from Smith & Walensky's in Las Vegas. I mean, we've seen Israel rematch guys that he's beaten. Not only beaten, but absolutely destroy. And he destroyed them again. We get to see now a true contender. A different man that's looking to put the MMA world on its axis. Jared Cannonier. A guy that used to fight at heavyweight. Fought at light heavyweight too, but really found his home at middleweight with wins over Anderson Silva. Ever heard of him? With wins over, let's see who else. He has a win over Jack Hermanson. Ever heard of him? He has a win over Calvin Gastelum. Ever heard of him? He also has his most recent win over Derek Brunson, Blonde Brunson, a guy that everyone thought was unbeatable. But he played basketball with his head via his elbows. That same night, Israel Adesanya rematched Robert Whittaker. And that's why we're here. Israel Adesanya, I like him. Everyone likes him. He has a huge following. He has many subscribers on his YouTube channel. His Instagram handle is truly something to behold. If you want to watch some of the coolest anime memes dropped, you can go to his Instagram handle. I mean, this guy checks all the boxes for a big star, especially in the world that we live in. However, there's something that's off about Israel. Something has been off about Israel for the past 2 years. Remember when Israel fought Paulo Costa? It was probably the biggest fight in the entire pandemic because these guys did not like each other. And after Israel had that poor performance against Yoel Romero, everyone knew Paulo Costa was going to take the fight to Israel. What did Israel do? He picked him apart, chopped him down like a tree, landed a nice head kick that rocked Paulo, followed up with the left hook that dropped Paulo, and finished him off with some of the most crisp ground and pound I've ever seen coming from Israel Adesanya. And many people were like, whoa, Israel is the man. He is the guy that is not meant to be fucked with. He's keeping that belt for a long time, and rightfully so. He just defeated probably one of the most scariest guys in the division, a guy that no one really wanted to fight. So that was his last finish. I mean, he fought Jan Blachowicz. That fight went to a decision. Israel got 49-46 across all three judges' scorecard. Then he fought Marvin Vettori. And I felt he should have finished that fight. But it's almost like he was too scared to do so. He had Marvin dead in the water. Like, he could get whatever he wants. He could do whatever he wants, and he just chose not to. He chose to play it safe. Why? I don't know. But he won that fight by decision. Rematched Robert Whittaker. And I thought he kind of lost that fight, guys. Like, I'm going to have to go watch that fight again. But I honestly thought Israel lost that fight. I thought that Robert pushed the pace, got a few takedowns, was more aggressive, landed bigger punches. Israel had that one bomb in the first round that dropped Robert. And ever since then, we've been really kind of looking sideways with our skeptical hippo eyes, thinking, okay, was that fight closer than we thought it was? Did Robert do everything he could to win that fight? Did Israel actually lose the fight? I mean, what really went down that night? That Israel couldn't go for the kill. I felt like if he did go for the kill, he would have knocked Robert Whittaker out, and he wouldn't have that much doubt as he has right now. Like I said, I'm going to have to watch that fight again, but I thought Robert beat him. It seems like Israel is in a tough spot. He's in a spot where every champion wants to be, and that's where you clean out your division, and you're on to a new contender, and if you beat this contender, you're going to move up and wait to get that second title. I feel like he hasn't been getting up for these fights like he was when he was on the come up. The best part about any fighter is the come up, no matter what. I mean, look at Jake Paul's career. We're asking who's he going to fight next. He doesn't seem to have that hunger. He seems like he's fighting timid, almost hesitant, scared. He's promising a lot for this upcoming fight, saying, I'm going to fuck Jared up. I don't know about that. Jared don't seem to play those games. You know what I mean? He seems cold. Cold as the snow in Alaska, which is way colder. He seems like he has a trick up his sleeve that no one knows about. I think Jared is going to have to make this a dogfight because Israel is the type to really get out of harm's way. We saw it in the Robert Whittaker fight, and we saw it in the Marvin Vettori fight. And Israel can be taken down. If I'm Jared, I'm taking notes from the Jan Blachowicz fight. And I know it's kind of apples to oranges because Jan walks around at like 240. Israel walks around at like 200, if that. And you can't just take him down and lay on him because in the middleweight division, Israel's just going to get up. So if I'm Jared, I do take some notes from that. Maybe the takedowns. I take notes from the Kelvin Gastelum fight that Israel had with him. I take notes from the Marvin Vettori fight where Marvin took Israel down. And I take notes from the Robert Whittaker fight where Robert won some rounds on Israel. He probably won rounds 2, 4, and 5. I take notes from all those guys, put it all together, and go out and fight your fight. You can't fight Israel's fight because if you fight Israel's fight, he's going to fucking pinpoint you to death. He will point you to death. But that's what scares me the most about Israel. He hasn't had a finish in almost 2 years. 2 years. Pandemic's over. He hasn't had a win since the middle of the pandemic. He hasn't finished, he's had wins. He hasn't had a finish since the middle of the pandemic. I know he's promising a finish here. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Israel's going to walk right through him. But be careful. Be careful. Because a guy like Jared Cannonier, who's like, if he does this prancing and dancing and moving and style bending, I'm going to bend his fucking neck. Guys like Jared don't mess around. And I just feel like he needs to push the pace the way Robert Whittaker did. He does that, we'll have a new champion. I'm going upset city. I'm going shocking the world. I'm going put the world on its axis. The MMA world, that is. I got Jared Cannonier winning the fight. I do. I think Israel Adesanya's first loss at middleweight comes at the hands of Jared, the killer gorilla Cannonier. I think he has the tools. He has the power. Like I said, that guy fought at heavyweight. That power carries you. It comes with you no matter where you go. It comes with you like your clothes. It comes with you like your hat or bracelet. It comes with you. It travels with you in other weight classes. He can hit. He can crack. If he can just pressure Israel and stay out of harm's way, get a few takedowns, get Israel thinking about some takedowns, we could have a fight on our hands. Because like I said, Israel fights scared. Israel fights very timid lately. And that's not good. That's really not good. Robert kind of knew how to fight Israel, but he didn't do enough to truly win, if that makes sense. I'm probably going to go rewatch the fight right now and see who really won the fight. Because I don't think Israel did. And if I thought he did, then hey, I'll be the first to tell you guys. But I think with the way Israel's been fighting lately, it's not the style that is going to win him this fight. It's just not. You could fight that style fighting Marvin Vettori. You could fight that style fighting a Robert Whittaker, but you can't get it fighting a guy like Jared Cannonier who don't give a fuck about what your skill sets are. He only cares about what he has to do. It's almost like Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva, the classic striker versus grappler. Although Cannonier has way more power than Weidman does. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. And I can't wait to witness it live. And I cannot wait to see if I'm right or wrong. But I do think we have an upset. I think we have a new middleweight champion. I think Jared Cannonier goes out there and gets the job done. I think via decision. I do. I think it's going to be 2-2 going into the fifth. It's going to be 2-2 going into the fifth. And I think Cannonier drops Israel in the fifth, gets a takedown, doesn't finish the fight, grounds and pounds him though. They go to judge's scorecard. Cannonier wins by split decision. If he gets a finish, then hey, that'll really shock everyone. But if he wins by decision, that'll shock everyone too. But if he wins it the way I think he can win it, and by the way I just told you, then I think we all got one of the biggest upsets in history on our hands. And I cannot wait to see it. And be sure to bet on these 3 fights. If you watch my videos from the past few days, the O'Malley prediction, the Holloway prediction, bet big. Because I think those guys are going to win the night. And you may get a chance to go out and have some spending money if you bet on these. But like I said, like, subscribe, comment on what you think is going to happen, who you got in the fights. Your boy Hollywood AJ. Catch me next video. It's going to be a vlog of me in Vegas at the fights, at the Fan Expo, meeting all my favorite fighters. Stay tuned for that. Follow my Instagram where you can see all my pictures with the fighters. Follow my YouTube channel like I just said. Follow my Facebook at AJ Maldonado. Your boy Hollywood AJ. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care. I'm out.